Raise your hand if you're pretty sure you know what Ad Astra is all about. Yeah, I'm in that group too. In Ad Astra, an astronaut played by Brad Pitt has to travel through space, on a mission to find out what happened to his missing father, who's also an astronaut, and he disappeared a bunch of years prior. This is Brad Pitt's movie. I mean, he is the driving force for this all. He's good, but he's also reserved. Part of that is his character. He's compartmentalized so that he can succeed at his mission. But at other times, he just seems emotionless or detached. I mean, kind of think like Will Smith's character in After Earth. Not as much detached, but you kind of get the point a little bit. So the story is told in the near future, but the decor of like the interior of homes and office spaces just feels like it comes from the 1960s. Now inside the spaceships, it all looks modern, and they still use, I guess, modern stuff. As much as I don't really travel in space, so it's just what I imagine the inside of a spaceship would really look like, other than, you know, some of the stuff that I see from NASA. But what adds to the feel of the 60s, or even that just like that gives it a hint like it's kind of hearkening back to that time, is there is a ton of film grain that is put on this movie. And so it adds this graininess to what you're seeing, and it's throughout the entire thing. So it really does feel similar to something that you would see from like the 1960s. I mean, think back to some of the TV, not shows that you saw, but some of the footage of just news or anything else. It has this graininess to it, and so it plays throughout the entire movie like that. Now, I think also one of the aspects or the benefits of using so much film grain in the final product is that you can cover up some wonky looking special effects. Now, I'm not saying that the special effects in this are wonky, but if they were, it kind of masks it a little bit, and so you don't notice it as much. There are several action scenes in this film that really do well to add to the tension of the story. But that being said, there is not a lot of them. And so if you're thinking that this is going to be kind of an action-y movie, it's not. It's a drama in space that is interspersed with brief moments of action. One action scene in particular was a lot of fun for me, and that was on the moon that involved a moon rover. Now, mostly the pace of this film is slow. Not like a slow burn, but patient. I mean, it's taking its time telling the story, which is good and bad all at the same time. The movie is 2 hours and 2 minutes long, and I felt a lot of that time. Like, it just, at the slow parts, it really kind of drug at times. Not every time, and not all of the slow parts, but the storytelling was so patient at points where it was just like, okay. And then you'd have the action parts of it that would just kind of speed it up a little bit and like wake you up a little bit, and then it would drop back down. And that's what I'm talking about, that there's not a ton of action in this, and so you have these brief moments that are sprinkled throughout the film that it breaks up the slowness of it. It increases the pace a little bit. I don't think it does enough, though, to drag the entire film up, boost it up in the pace arena. Now, for the most part, the story is plain, but I do like that we get to see growth in Brad Pitt's character. One thing that kind of bugged me just a little bit in the story is there are some inconsistencies. I mean, take for example, Brad Pitt is on one part of his journey, and he's having some dire effects as a result of that journey. Once he reaches the end of that journey, though, I've said journey a lot of times, once he reaches the end of that journey, all the effects just poof, disappear, like they never even happened. And I know I'm being vague about this because I don't want to really give too many specifics about what's going on or context, so that, you know, when you do see this, if you do see this movie, that it's not ruined for you. But it was a little odd that you get to see all of this cool special effects too, and just what he's experiencing, and then gone. Brad Pitt really is good in this. I like that he's patient, that he's brooding, that he's contemplating things, that he's struggling with these thoughts that he has. But I don't feel that this is his best role. I mean, I liked him a lot in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and even in Seven, where playing Detective Mills, I think that he just was more complex in that. In certain scenes of the movie, it's hard to not draw comparisons to 2001: A Space Odyssey. And that's not a bad thing. That is not a knock on it. I think it's more of an homage to that film than anything else. I mean, there is a point where Brad Pitt is crawling through this part of his space, and the reflections off of his helmet and the coloring just really resembles Kubrick's film in that. And so it was nice, and I think it was a good nod to that film. I saw this in IMAX, and I don't think it's worth the IMAX ticket price. I'm not even sure it's worth full price, just regular showings, but definitely you can't go wrong if you saw it on a discount day. And I mean, you know, it's not a bad movie by any means, and so if you do see it full price, you'll probably enjoy it as well. I just wouldn't pay the full IMAX price for it. That's just too much, especially if you're taking a bunch of people with you. Now, like I said several times, I don't think this is a bad movie. I enjoyed it somewhat, but I do think there are stronger entries in the space drama category. I mean, take Interstellar and Gravity as two really good examples. Both of those, I think, did it better, were more moving, and out of those two, Interstellar is at the top of that list by far. There is no sex or nudity, but there is a little bit of profanity and some violence. I give Ad Astra 3.5 out of 5 couches. What is your favorite Brad Pitt performance? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.